What's on the menu? What's on the docket for this year? Now, there's a lot of games coming out this year, and the ones that I'm really interested in are the following: Persona 3 Reload, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Dragon's Dogma 2, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2, Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail, Metaphor ReFantazio, Visions of Mana, and I'm keeping one eye open for Zenless Zone Zero. I've cooled off that game mostly for myself. But I think this year will be dictated by two main narratives. One, how strong of an opening this year has, especially in February. With the likes of Persona 3 Reload and Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, I believe there's another Yakuza game coming out relatively soon as well, and you have Dragon's Dogma 2 in March. The beginning of this year is extremely, palpably strong. Okay, there's three narratives. Another one is how this year will shake the MMO RPG genre. We have Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail on the menu, and we also have World of Warcraft: The War Within launching later this year. The two heavy hitters for the genre releasing new content around the same time, we believe. It'll be interesting to see public perception and how these games continue to evolve, and if WoW can get back on the right track, and if Final Fantasy XIV can continue the goodwill in the train from Endwalker. And then we have the third one, which is arguably going to be the biggest news story this year in all likelihood if Nintendo ever gets around to actually announcing the Nintendo Switch 2, or whatever they want to call it, the Super Switch, the Switch U, whatever. It'd be kind of funny if they called it the Switch U, though. Like, yeah, if you keep anticipating or predicting the release of a new Nintendo console, eventually you will end up being right. Yeah, but let's all admit to ourselves, the odds of it being announced this year are higher than it not be. And with how successful and earth-shattering the Switch was as a console throughout its lifespan, obviously there's a lot of incentive and hype surrounding the Nintendo Switch 2, and I've made a lot of videos about that hype, and about what I want to see out of the console. I imagine the dialogue surrounding the Switch 2 will be the biggest news story this year. I wouldn't be surprised if PlayStation does a PS5 Pro this year as well, but I feel like that will be overshadowed just by the Switch 2. Obviously, it'll have some notoriety to it, but I mean, it's the Switch 2. And we need to see if Nintendo can come out swinging. We need to see what the launch window for the Switch 2 will look like. Does it come out this year? Because that's a whole nother can of worms. What's the launch window for the Switch 2 like? What kind of games does it have? Does it run well? Is the online better? Is it backwards compatible? Do they maintain the hybridization playstyle that the Switch became so popular and known for? Or do they try and do the classic Nintendo thing, and once they have a good thing going, completely throw that out the window? We don't know. We have to simply wait and see. But 2023 was an immaculate year for gaming, and at least when it concerns actual game releases. A lot of high-quality, fun, and replayable games came out in 2023, and 2024 does not look like it's going to be slacking either. There's a lot of really high-quality games that, a lot of them, for me at least, come out in February or in March. So if developers could learn that there's other months in this calendar year, that would be swell for me. I would greatly appreciate and love that myself. Elden Ring DLC, I forgot about that. Yeah, Elden Ring DLC will be a massive thing if and when it comes out this year. So I think on the whole, 2024 is shaping up to be a really cool year for gaming. We'll see what the fruits of that Microsoft Activision Blizzard King acquisition are, when those games come online to Game Pass, how Game Pass evolves throughout the year, how Sony evolves their ecosystem as well. There's a lot of question marks and a lot of interesting trends that the industry could continue down from last year, or we see the results of a lot of effort and anticipation. We know Microsoft has been buying up a lot of studios. We know they have a lot of IP under their belts. When do they get around to really utilizing all that IP and start to pump out some really cool and amazing games? And can they do so on a consistent basis? That'll be the big question for Xbox this year. Can they utilize the IP that they have to release a bunch of cool and amazing games that are high quality consistently? That'll be a big question. For me, the game I'm most anticipating this year is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Far and away. I'm a massive Final Fantasy fan, let alone a Final Fantasy VII fan. I love the remake so much. Wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed most things about that game. And I've been anticipating Rebirth ever since I first played Remake. And that game is coming out really soon. Like in over a month, I believe. It's coming out in February, and everything we've seen from Rebirth so far seems like the game is strictly an improvement from Remake. Every aspect seems like it was touched or loved in some way to make it more enjoyable and flow even better. Combat looks more enjoyable, deep, and customizable. The progression system seems fun and interesting, and a nice step in the right direction from Remake. The world is more expansive, level design seems better, there's more ways to navigate the world, the story seems big, bombastic, silly, and wacky, and fun, and emotional, which is Final Fantasy VII to a T, and I have so many questions about the fate of certain characters and where the story is going overall. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is far and away my most anticipated game this year. Followed, though, by Persona 3 Reload, a remake to Persona 3, with some nice touches and tender love and care in certain places. Persona 3 Reload seems like, to me, the best way to play P3. We need to see how it turns out on launch, obviously. Don't count your chickens until they hatch in the video games industry. That's a good slogan to bear in mind. But again, like in 7 Rebirth, Persona 3 Reload seems like it's the base story of P3 done better than before. And it seemingly addresses most of my concerns and critiques from both Fez and Portable, and is just making a better experience. Reload looks really incentivizing and enticing to me. Dragon's Dogma 2. I never played Dragon's Dogma 1. I picked up Dragon's Dogma 1 because of how good Dragon's Dogma 2 looked. So I have to somehow find a way to fit in Dragon's Dogma 1 before 2 comes out. We have Metaphor ReFantasio, Atlas trying something new, with a new IP, really incentivized, it looks cool, it looks great. I'd love to sink my teeth into that game and see what it's all about. Visions of Mana, the Mana series coming back once again. That trailer that they announced for that game looks beautiful, but I want to see more actual gameplay and how the overall flow goes. Let alone all the other announcements we are likely to find out later on this year. This year has a ton of potential to be an excellent follow-up to how good of a year 2023 was. And yeah, obviously, normally with the video games industry, you can always find something to gripe about, or to critique and to analyze and to be pessimistic about, because it's a business, and at the end of the day, unconsumer practices will always happen. And there'll always be some kind of bad news story out there in regards to the video games industry one way or the other, whether it's bad business practices or whatever. You can always find that, and I doubt this year will be any exception to that rule, and that should be called out when it's found. However, I think there's also a lot of reasons to be optimistic for this year. There's a lot of cool games that are coming out, and while I imagine another big chunk of the dialogue surrounding the video games industry this year will be the hype for GTA 6, as I imagine we get more and more trailers for that game, this year itself looks to be really compelling and good and just fun, with some potential massive announcements. Like, imagine we get a new Nier game. How cool would that be? We'll almost certainly get another Nintendo announcement, probably the Switch too. I think there's a lot to look forward in regards to this year. And while it can be easy to get bogged down in the bad and be pessimistic about the industry as a whole for extremely understandable reasons, at the end of the day, I think there's plenty of reason to be optimistic, and I tend to side with being optimistic more often than not, unless I'm proven or shown reasons to be pessimistic. But when I'm looking at the games coming out and the potential announcements we can get, I see more reasons to be optimistic than pessimistic, and I think that's a pretty damn good place to be. And with that, I'll call the video there for the day. Thank you all for tuning in. My pleasure for making the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and help support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment down below with what game you are most anticipating coming out this year. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and to hear your perspectives. Stay safe, have a great day, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload and stream in the future. Stay safe, have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye everybody, until we meet again.